Hey, good morning. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Stokastic.com MLB strategy show. 12-game action. Finally, a sizable slate. Looking forward to this one for sure, especially after not having a great Wednesday or Thursday on the day games. You get a lot right, doesn't matter, because if you only get a couple things wrong, what difference does it make? Baseball is a tough daily fantasy sport, man. It is. Thank God for betting, because some of these swings in DFS can be tough. Absolutely. But anyway, happy to have you guys here. We got a 12-gamer today, a fun one with some pretty good pitching. I mean, if you just look right now on the Sims, you can tell out of the gate, you've got some pretty significant stuff going on. Like, not only do you have Logan Gilbert going up against Miami, but he's going up against Miami in Seattle. Morning, Michael. Seattle is one of these parks that absolutely just kills power and kills run production. I talked to Josh about this last year all the time, there's no park, not even San Francisco, not even the Coliseum before they moved. I don't know if there's a single park that absolutely just curtails run production more than T-Mobile. I don't think there is one. And if there is, you'd have to tell me which one it is, because I haven't thought of one, and I certainly haven't found one. But anyway, glad you guys could join me. If you haven't done so yet, take a single second, hit that thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment down below as well. That stuff goes a very long way for me, and I greatly appreciate it in advance. StatCast park factors. For real though. Otherwise, I wouldn't even bother asking you. So let's see, park factor. Yeah, look at this. Look at the, let me make this bigger for you guys. Look at the Mariners park factor on Baseball Savant. 90. And this is a rolling 3-year, right? Yeah, rolling 3-year average, a 90 park factor. Just a terrible, terrible park for hitting. And I'm not sure people know exactly how bad this park is. Like, Giant Stadium, Oracle Park is bad, but T-Mobile Park is worse. So just out of the gate here, we're going to jump into pitchers. Wait for a couple of you guys to jump in, of course. But you look at the top pitchers tool today. Is it any surprise that Logan Gilbert is getting the love that he is? The only question now is, should he be 52% owned on a slate of this size? Because that's pretty wild. 52% owned on a 12-game slate. But I'm not going to lie to you. I like Logan Gilbert a lot today. And so do the Sims. We've got him at 69% right now out of 150 lineups. That is on a 12-game slate. But I think it's fair to point out, too, this isn't just a matchup, right? This isn't just the matchup. It's the fact that he's also really, really good. I mean, Logan Gilbert's nasty. So if you factor in matchup plus park, plus this guy just being one of the preeminent pitchers in baseball, I think there's an argument to be made that he deserves all the ownership we can get to him, all the exposure we can get. And you guys, of course, chat's always open. Feel free to hit me up. I pay attention to that throughout everything. I'm doing this show solo, so it's much easier to do. If you have any, pushback, let me hear it for sure. Like, last year, you're just looking at these numbers, 30% K rate at home, 30% K rate, 213 average. Oh, I'm sorry, that was lefties. Where's home? Because it's got to be better, right? Yeah, 30% K rate. 0.83 whip and a 288 xFIP. Are you kidding me? These numbers are preposterous. So again, how do you look at Logan Gilbert and not think that he is the best pitcher on the slate? Of course, if you wanted to get different, you wanted to find leverage elsewhere, you wanted to get a little bit contrarian, I don't blame you. But I kind of do. Like, he's just been so good at home. So good. And I don't think there's two ways around it. right? Like, how many starts has he made at home this year? Only one? No. He's made, let's see, 1, 2, 3. Has he made 4 starts at home already? All right, so 4 home starts for Logan Gilbert. Oh, not bad. 38% strikeout rate, 33% K minus BB rate, and a 1.55 xFIP. Like, you can't make these type of numbers up. So am I surprised that we're getting to 69% Gilbert? No, and I wouldn't be opposed to getting more. I genuinely wouldn't be opposed to getting more. What's up, boys? Happy to have you here. It's, I don't know, man. It's as simple as it gets, right? Like, Logan Gilbert against Miami at home in the most pitcher-friendly park in baseball, where every single Seattle pitcher just somehow ends up being fantastic all of the time. Probably a spot that I would look to get to. So yeah, I don't want to spend the whole show on Logan Gilbert. I don't think it's necessary, right? It's definitely not. And, you know, if you wanted to say one thing about this matchup that wasn't good, I don't know. I honestly don't know what it would be. Miami has a 25% K rate so far this year. That's third highest in baseball. A 135 ISO. Maybe you could argue that's better than we expected. But, geez, it's bad. Ram 33. What's up, Ram? And what's up, Matt, Nathan, Stacks? What up, boys? Says, I'm more inclined to play a pitcher this chalky on a larger slate because no stack is going to be super chalky. I see what you're saying, right? Like, so essentially what you're getting at is not too worried about getting to a chalky pitcher because you can do so much stuff differently elsewhere. And you know what, Ram? I'll tell you what. First of all, it's a good point. It's a valid point. And we talk about that all the time on those smaller slates. Another thing worth considering too is on DraftKings, you're playing 2 pitchers. So, like, you know, your second pitcher doesn't have to be particularly chalky either. Getting to a chalky Logan Gilbert in a phenomenal spot doesn't preclude you from getting good lineups that are positively leveraged. Like, let's look at the lineups that the Sims are giving us. By the way, was pitching a minefield or what yesterday on that early slate? I mean, Reagan's didn't make it through, 3 innings? There were some absolute landmines early on in that day. Garrett Crochet looked like he was going to implode early on and somehow still got to 9 strikeouts. That was a tough one, man. That was a tough one. But let's see what these Logan Gilbert lineups look like. So Gilbert and King with a 5-2 White Sox athletic stack. Gilbert and Pablo Lopez with a 4-4 Minnesota and Cleveland stack. I should point out to you guys as well that if there's one game with weather that we should be paying close attention to, it is that Cleveland game. That Cleveland game does not look good right now. Oh, and by the way, I wasn't all that far off with my speculative weather call in that Minnesota White Sox game yesterday. They went 7 and then called the game. I was just I thought it'd come a little bit early. Plus, you know, if you ended up fading Chris Paddock like I did, that wasn't the reason you had a bad day at all. Or fading Minnesota stacks. Jeez. That was a tough one. Smith ended up being one of the best pitchers on that slate. But yeah, this Boston-Cleveland game does not look good at all. Really doesn't. So pay attention to that. This may be a game that we're just excluding. Even if it's not, honestly, even if it's not postponed by the time things start, if I look at it and it doesn't look good, good chance I'm just not going to play this. Einsteinium, what's up, brother? What happened to who was your guy the other day, Einsteinium? You throw some wild ones out there and sometimes you hit them. This one, not so much. Who was it? Quinn Priester? I don't remember, but I'm happy to see you. Let's just roster Skeens against the Dodgers, says Einstein. You know, is it crazy? No, not at all. Is Skeens a guy that will just continue to get ownership even though he shouldn't? In the sense of like, is Skeens even at a particularly high price point? Is there so much luster around this guy that he's going to get him? The ownership? Or do people just see the Dodgers and not want to ever play a pitcher against them? Because I don't think Skeens is crazy here. If this guy really does have, we're projecting him for 6% ownership in this top pitchers tool. If he really does have 6% ownership, I will gladly get over the field on Paul Skeens. And the cool thing about this is you don't need to do anything crazy. If you wanted to get over the field, if you wanted to 2x the field on Skeens, you get to 12%. And then what? You end up getting less, maybe a little bit less Gilbert, like 6% less Gilbert or something like that. I'll be honest with you guys though. If you told me I had to play 100% Logan Gilbert on this slate, I don't think I'd give you much pushback. I'm not sure I would. BD, what's up, man? Said, been hammering these baseball slates with the tools and the shows. Good, man. Yeah, it's been fun so far. Baseball is always going to be up and down until you get that one, you know. If you're grinding tournaments, or not grinding, you're playing tournaments, there's just going to be days where, I'm not saying you get blanked, but I mean, I have plenty of days where it just, none of the stars align. That happens. But yeah, I agree, dude. There's a pretty phenomenal slate. But yeah, no, look, Paul Skeens, anytime you want to get to a guy like Paul Skeens, I think it's more than reasonable. It's just, let's break it down like this. Instead of just saying, hey, Paul Skeens is a good pitcher, let's take a look at the other good pitchers on this slate. Is there enough there? So let's just take a look at the top tier pitchers on this slate, because this typically will dictate a lot of decisions for me. And what I mean is, let's say you have two pitchers that are up there in decent spots, but they're pulling a ton of ownership and maybe they shouldn't be. Or even maybe they should be, but this other guy is equally, if not more talented than them, and he's getting none of the ownership. Then I think you can start to kind of drift in that direction and entertain it. If Yamamoto's getting 36% ownership against the Pirates, which again, I'm not sure we should be arguing that. Logan Gilbert's getting 52% against Miami. Once again, I don't think we should be arguing that either. Skeens is getting 6% against the Dodgers. Now, of course, look at the implied totals for these teams. Both the Pirates and the Marlins are 3.1 and 3.2 respectively. So yes, the Dodgers have a run total that is a full run higher than both of those teams. But Skeens is also getting truly a fraction of the ownership. He's getting what? A sixth of Yamamoto's ownership? And what, like 1/9 of Logan Gilbert's? So I don't think it's nuts. I wouldn't want to jam Paul Skeens, but yeah, if you told me if it, by the end of the day, I enter my lineups and I run my final sim and I have 15% Paul Skeens and we're projecting him at 6%, I'm okay with that. Yeah, I'm okay with that. Einstein and Michael King is a candidate to get steamed throughout the day, in my opinion. I'm under the belief this Tampa Bay team is one we should always target unless they are home. Yeah, and another thing with King, for what it's worth, he's already getting, the fourth most ownership behind Gilbert, Yamamoto, and Pablo Lopez. And as far as our exposures go, I think we have him in the top 5. Yeah. Gilbert, Yamamoto, Lopez, Verlander, that's fun, and Michael King. So he is getting a decent amount of ownership. And I think he should be. There's nothing scary, like you said, Einsteinium, about this Tampa Bay team. I don't think so, at least. Right? And he's got good stuff. 27% K rate on the season. Now, King's a good pitcher. There's also something to be said about him. I feel like there's a handful of good pitchers in this league where when things go poorly, things go poorly. And there are times we've seen that with Michael King, but he's been able to avoid that this year. He's also had a couple starts where he's just been unable to get any swinging strikes and any swing and misses. Like here, check this out. This is his game log this year. Can you guys see this? I zoomed it in for you. This is his game log this year. 7 Ks, 8 Ks, 2 Ks against the Athletics, 11 against Cleveland, and 3. Just 2 games where was he terrible? No, but he wasn't good. And I wouldn't even say there's too much to take away from that outside of Michael King is kind of streaky is a really bad word to use, but he's unpredictable, right? He's kind of an enigma when it comes to baseball. You know he's good, but you also know when he goes out and he has those, when everything is working for him and when he can put all the pieces together, that he's going to have some insane performances. Like he has 2 single, listen to this, just we're going to use DK points for a second because this is great. First start of the season, 1 DraftKings point. Second one, 35. Third one, 8. And fourth one, 43. He had 35 DK points against Cleveland, and he went 5 innings. He threw a complete game 2-hit shutout against Colorado. So if you look at this Tampa Bay team and you say, hey, I don't see anything about Tampa Bay that scares me, then I think this is probably a spot we should be targeting. They have a middle-of-the-road K rate this season. And they've been a pretty, if we're fair to them, 124 WRC plus is pretty decent. But Einsteinian mentioning the home, or that's against righties, mentioning the home splits is significant because that hurricane, took the roof off the Trop. That was God looking down and saying, this is the worst constructed stadium ever, and I've allowed it to go on for too long, right? Everyone else is going to be okay, but we are once and for all destroying this heinous stadium. I don't know. Maybe he took the architects out with it too. But at home, at George Steinbrenner Field, which is, identical dimensions to Yankee Stadium, this is going to be a Tampa Bay team that's going to be good. And pretty much anybody that plays there is going to be good. I'd argue that they are still a decent team away from home. I don't think they're terrible away from home, but they're definitely not good. What a big difference that makes. 125 WRC plus at home this year, 87 on the road. It's crazy. With a 23.5% K rate. So yeah, King is definitely in play today. The question is, what do we do with Justin Verlander? Ryan, how does King look for the $15 GPP on FanDuel? Fine. I mean, I think any of these guys up top are viable, including Skeens. Again, with Skeens, it is truly going to be a contrarian play today because you're not getting you're not getting a discount on him. You're not getting a matchup discount. And when you don't get a matchup discount, nobody wants to play him. If Skeens was 9K today, I think you'd be seeing his ownership a lot more significant than it is. Verlander's the one that I don't know what to do with. I mentioned this going into that Philly game that I didn't think he was cooked yet. And then he was just terrible. He's terrible. I didn't mention it on this show. I mentioned it on a betting show. And then he goes out against the Angels in LA, which is a pretty hitter-friendly park. And he goes 6 one-run innings with 6 Ks. He's walking too many guys, but it was a good start. And without the win, he still put up really solid numbers. He's thrown 104 and 98 pitches over his last 2 starts, so there's no restrictions on pitch count. You don't have to worry about that. He's back in San Francisco that plays better to pitching than any park not named T-Mobile Stadium or T-Mobile Park. And you've got this Texas team. You've got this Texas team again. They're going to they're going to benefit from hitting at home, but on the road this year, 431 plate appearances, 86 WRC plus, 286 WOBA. This has not been a particularly good offense for the World Series champs 2 years back. I mean, we all know that was pretty fluky, but they have a WRC plus of 90 on the season. They're 24th. They're behind Washington. You know, I think Verlander at his price point, if we're just talking about value, actually does make quite a bit of sense. Texas is 29th against righties this year. Not the steepest K rate in the league, but it's middle of the road. They don't walk. They're probably walking at the lowest clip in baseball, which is super beneficial for Justin Verlander. Yeah, 5.9% walk rate. It's going to be a hard click, but at 7,300, I think Verlander actually makes a lot of sense, and we can talk about why. What do we do with the value? So we already talked about Gilbert and Yamamoto. Those are, regardless of what you want to say about ownership, those two guys, in my opinion, are the two best pitchers on the slate. They are. And then Pablo Lopez is going to be up there as well because he's 8,500. I think Pablo Lopez has been one of the most unlucky pitchers over the past couple of years, but I still firmly believe that this guy's good. I also don't believe that the Angels are the type of team that should concern you. So I like him, Michael King, and Verlander. What happens once you get past those guys? And we talked about Skeens from a GPP perspective. You have a guy in Zach Gallen against Atlanta. He has historically been a lot better at home as well. So that's helpful. Zach Gallen against Atlanta, still not a good matchup. And we all know that this Atlanta team is better than they started the season off as, right? Like it's pretty evident that they are. Gallen's been all over the map this season, more bad than good. And even at home, he's been terrible through his first three starts. Can he turn it around? Sure. Does Atlanta strike out at a decent clip? They do. But Gallen shouldn't be, I don't think, a priority for anybody. Atlanta's K rate is 5th highest in the league against righties. That helps us. But I still don't love him. Luis Severino against the White Sox. You're paying $8K for him at 8.8% ownership. Fine. I think in the Sims, we are getting around the field, 5%. We're getting about 6% Zach Gallen. Really, most of our ownership is concentrated between these 5 guys, if you're including 12% Michael King. And then it's just a spattering of everybody else. So the question earlier from chat, and I think this is a really good one, is do you consider Andrew Abbott? Well, on DraftKings at 8,600, I think that's a tough ask. I think $8,600 Andrew Abbott is a tough ask, but this dude's been awesome. And Colorado is still a terrible baseball team. You know, there was a time where no matter who was on the mound in Colorado, you would be willing, the opposing team, you'd be willing to stack against them, right? Arenado, Trevor Story, back to the Troy Tulowitzki days. Like, there were times where there's just no way you wanted to play any pitchers. Every game was, you know, an 11-run total, even early in the season. And now this team is so bad that I don't really think we should be concerned about targeting them at home. Maybe Abbott does make more sense than we're giving him credit for. The Rockies so far this season, over 350 plate appearances at home, have a 28% strikeout rate. It's the second highest in the league in a park that naturally suppresses strikeouts because of the elevation. They have a 28% K rate and a 90 WRC plus. So even put them in Colorado. Mind you, it's still April. It's still not hot. They're still one of the worst teams in baseball, even at home. And if you go back to last year, it's not all that different. 27th in the league in their home park with a 4th highest K rate. Abbott honestly might be someone that we should stop ignoring. I know we're only getting 1% of him right now, and he's 4% owned. But is Colorado so bad? Are they so bad that none of this should matter? The answer might be yes. It's going to be 52 degrees with winds blowing in Colorado. Again, altitude, the elevation, all that stuff. Not a great park, or not great weather. 9.5 run total. It's a 9.5 run total. Mind you, this is Coors Field, and Abbott's getting no ownership at all. You could probably convince me. Andrew said Abbott's too expensive in Coors. I mean, yeah, he probably is, but I don't know how much. I don't know how. I wish we could pull something up real quick just to see how opposing pitchers have done in Coors this year. That would be helpful. Yeah, I don't know, but it's just. What do you mean Andrew Abbott sucked in his last start? He went 6 innings, 1 run with 11 strikeouts and 36 fantasy points against that Orioles team. Yeah, I wouldn't say he sucked. You could say he's too expensive, for sure. Wouldn't say he sucked. Chris, you're surprised he's not owned? Yeah, it's a price thing, man. It's a price point. Ram, so you're saying start Kyle Freeland? Can't lie, been thinking about it. Yeah, I saw his strikeout prop, 3.5, juiced to the over. Look, it's still not a good park for pitchers. It's still a 9.5 run total. I probably am not playing Freeland here, but he is what, 5K? I just think maybe Abbott shouldn't be ignored in a spot like this because Colorado is not bad. They're atrocious. They're as bad as it gets. This team is terrible. And it hasn't mattered if they're at home either. So, I don't know. Take it for what it's worth. But this team is real shitty. Real shitty. Tovar's on the IL as well. Again, how much does that matter? Probably the worst team in baseball. Yeah. S&P, what's up, brother? If the weather was more favorable, I'd have liked the Rockies a lot on this slate. Abbott gives up so many fly balls. He does. A lot. But that's what I'm saying. 52 degrees, winds blowing in. You know, Coors Field is a favorable home run park, but that's not the reason that it's so good. It's so good because of the cavernous outfield, right? Super spacious outfield, where if you hit anything into that outfield, it's not caught. It's like, look at this. See this right here? Third triples. Number 1 in the league over the last 3 years. Doubles, number 3 in the league. While home runs are up there, they're 7th. It's a lot of it boils down to the fact that it heavily suppresses strikeouts because of that weather. Because of the altitude, right? So it's one of the hardest parks to strike batters out in. The ball doesn't move the way you want it to. But for extra base hits, it's ridiculous. So, yeah, I'm not downplaying the effects of Coors Field. Look, obviously, right? I can see what's on the screen here. I can see what's on the screen. But what I am saying is that we have to take everything into account. And if the Rockies are genuinely this bad, even at home, and Abbott started the season on fire, I don't just want to pretend he doesn't exist. How about that? I think that's probably the best way to put it. I don't want to pretend that he doesn't exist just because he's in Coors against probably the worst team in baseball. That's all. And you look at his pitch mix this year. 4-seam, let's see, against righties. So heavy changeup usage to righties as a left-handed pitcher. That makes sense. Almost 40% 4-seamer, almost 30% changeup with some cutter mixed in as well, curve slider. but the four-seamer changeup is basically eating up like what? Almost 70% of his pitch mix against righties. And he has a 22% whiff rate on the changeup. I mean, if I had to guess, the Rockies just can't hit anything. So I'm not even going to look. Like they're just bad against, I would imagine, every pitch. But no, I know he's only made 2 starts. He looks good. On paper, I mean, it's yeah. Michael, I'm not talking about that 2:00 game. Sorry. We don't have time. We get a 12-game slate. I can tell you the weather doesn't look good for it. I can tell you that. But yeah, all right. Are you guys, look, the chat's wide open. Are you guys entertaining the idea of guys like Abbott, Verlander coming off his first good start of the season against the bad Texas team now in San Francisco? Or are there other cheap options that you want to get to? Right? Because like Carrasco, Carrasco, Chad Patrick, Sean Burke, Kyle Freeland, who just really doesn't have any swing and miss stuff. Kyle Hendricks, Cal Quantrill. I mean, at the very least with Cal Quantrill, you could say, hey, he's pitching in Seattle, which is the complete opposite of Coors Field. He got absolutely destroyed last time out. I honestly think I'd probably rather play Quantrill over Kyle Freeland. If you were giving me because we have 2% Freeland, we don't have any Quantrill right now when we run the Sims, but I would probably take him in that park, even though Seattle's got pop. They took it to Garrett Crochet early yesterday. Jose Berrios against the Yankees in New York. It's going to be warm there. There's really just not a lot here. Nathan Eovaldi is the one guy you could say, yeah, okay, not bad, but he's 9,200. So if you're playing him, that means you forego some of these other top options. And I do like Michael King a little bit better, despite the ownership. Seth Lugo against Houston. Tanner Houck. Tanner Houck. We talked about it on this show last time he was on the mound. And the general, 2 times ago, sorry. And the idea was he hasn't figured it out. Last start was much better against the White Sox, but this weather's terrible, and Cleveland's not nearly an easy out as the White Sox were. I'll very likely, even if that game plays, try to have 0 Tanner Houck. I don't want to have to deal with the weather, and I don't want to have to deal with him. Shane Baz in a matchup against San Diego at 8,800. There's a lot of great pitchers on this slate. Chris Sale, here's another one against Arizona. It's not as much that I'm no fan of Chris Sale. It's just this Arizona team makes it really tough they're a really tough strikeout. You know, sub 20% K rate against lefties going back to the start of last year. They're always a tough team to strike out. This year, the only 234 plate appearances, but they have a 13.9% K rate against lefties. And Sale, as you know, is a lefty. So we're getting 2% of him. Yeah, I don't know. If you wanted to make the argument that this is kind of a pick your poison type of day, then sure. With some of these, 8K and up pitchers, I get it. But the cheap guys, it's tough. Like I mentioned Quantrill, but my guess, I will have almost certainly 0 Cal Quantrill and Kyle Freeland. I was simply just making a statement that Cal Quantrill and Kyle Freeland are both guys you should be avoiding, but I'd avoid Freeland probably a little bit more. I don't know how you get to these cheap guys today. Unless you're getting trace amounts, like 1-2% or something like that. There's just not much there. Short by salary, you can see too. Like Yamamoto, Gilbert, Skeens, King, Eovaldi, Chris Sale. These are all guys above 8K. Shane Baz, Abbott, Lopez, Wisniewski, and Chad Patrick, and Luis Severino. And the ownership among these guys too, like that's what, 90% between Gilbert and Yamamoto. If one of these other guys does pop off for a big game at no ownership, you're going to be in good shape. The problem is it's not as easy as just saying, hey, do that. Like, oh yeah, just play the guy that's going to pop off at low ownership. It's that easy. It's not. Look how many of these guys in that 8K and up range are getting no ownership. Evaldi, Sale, Baz, all look, 3, 6, 5%. Abbott, 5%. Wisniewski, Chad Patrick. And I'm not saying you should play all of these guys, but if you're trying to decide on which one of them it's going to be, how's the decision-making process going to come about? That's why I think like a 5% Abbott isn't the craziest idea, just given how bad Colorado is, and no one ever wants to play a relatively expensive pitcher at Coors Field, especially one who last year, you know, took a huge step back following his previous season, which was great. Plus, in the summer, this guy's got to pitch at Great American Ballpark. That sucks. So, yeah. It is chock full of talented pitchers. But do you just eat the chalk with Gilbert and Yamamoto? Let's take a look at some stacks. That's what we should do. By the way, you guys want access to the Sims. Today, we're doing the drawing. For those of you who have yet to get in, I looked, we have 42 people who have done this, and we're giving away, shout out to Jorge, $50,000 win. He DM'd me the other day and said, hey, I want to give away 5 MLB Sims Max memberships. What's that mean? That means that $900 worth of Sims. $900 worth of Sims. So if we're giving away 5 of those, and only 42 people have entered so far, you have a damn good chance, a really good chance of getting picked and getting drawn on that. Like, that's a good number. All you have to do, if you want to jump in here and get one of these 5 memberships, these 5 Sims Max MLB, it's $175 per sub. All you got to do if you want to jump in, watch this. And shout out to Jorge. He's the man. We're doing the drawing on Live Before Lock for NBA tonight. Josh will be doing that, so stick around to see if you grab it. All you got to do is get 2 free weeks. Get 2 free weeks of Portfolio EV with promo code Jorge. Use that up on the screen, Jorge. When you check out at OddsShopper.com, you're getting 2 free weeks for Portfolio EV, which is, for me, the best betting tool I've ever used in my life. Like, I've never seen as consistent and steady profits with any style of betting that I've employed than using Portfolio EV. So I'm using this tool every single day of every single week of every month in the year. And you can see my results within my picket. Like, they've been awesome. Awesome. This is my March. Almost 6K in March with a 3% ROI on fully limited accounts using these Portfolio EV tools. So you're getting 2 free weeks and you're putting yourself in the drawing. So do this. Jump in the link in the description. Use Jorge. You'll get your 2 free weeks. Use it. Exploit it. Don't just let it sit. Really use these tools because you might love them. You're getting 2 free weeks with Jorge. Check out, and you're getting entered for the drawing tonight. You got a few hours until that happens. If you're a new user, you'll get the free week trial if you sign up for the weekly, plus another free week. That's half a month free. If you're returning, you had an account before, but you're not active, you can still get a free week with code Jorge. And if you don't worry, we're not leaving you out if you're already an active Portfolio EV sub. Just email us a screenshot of your active sub to support@oddshopper.com, and you're in the drawing. We're going to draw it tonight. Use the tools, win with these tools, and hopefully grab yourself a $175 MLB Sims Max subscription. No better way to do it than that, man. So check it out, Jorge, at checkout when you get your 2 free weeks at Portfolio EV. All right, let's talk about some bats, because this is going to be one of those slates with a good amount of implied totals that are high, very high. Check this out. We've got 3 of 5, and then all of these are in the ballpark. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We have 10 at 4.7 or higher. You know, the Athletics against Burke, Cincinnati against Freeland makes sense. 9.5 run total. They're money line favorites on the road. Yankees against Jose Berrios. 5.1 run implied total there. That looks real good. 66-degree temperatures, nothing crazy, and they still have a total that high. Boston against Lively, I wouldn't be surprised if this game doesn't play, so I'd be real cautious there. Minnesota against Kyle Hendricks. Carrasco, all of these spots. Seattle against Quantrill even at 4.8. I still hate stacking teams, though. And I just truly hate stacking teams at T-Mobile, especially if they're going to be popular. They are right now going to be the second most popular team behind Toronto against Carlos Carrasco. That's crazy to me. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they should be. Let's look at the Sims. I'll let the Sims dictate my decisions. But to me, it just seems wild that they would be that popular. All right. Yeah. So, I mean, we're getting 6.7% on 5-man stacks, pretty close to the field. I'm fine with that. The most we're getting is the Athletics against Sean Burke. They have a monster total in that game, right? Monster total. What is it? 5.7 for the Athletics. So you got Athletics against the White Sox. And then the next one is the other side. This is a little bit surprising. It's actually the White Sox against Luis Severino. And how much of this is just because they're super cheap? Yeah, highest value score on the slate for the White Sox. And I'm sure you guys are wondering, maybe not all of you. If you've been watching this show, I think you probably already know this. But like, wow, how are the totals, this high for these teams in the Athletics park? Well, it's no longer the Coliseum. And now this park is really favoring hitters. I mean, big time. You've had Luis Severino make 3 home starts so far this year in this park, not the Coliseum, and he's coughed up 4 home runs already. Right? Like this is the type of park now that we should be looking at. That we should be looking at through the same lens as some of these other favorable hitters parks. 18% K-rated home so far for Severino, 1.93 home runs per 9. Again, not a ton of starts, but I think you get what I'm saying here, right? Like this is going to be one of those parks that's not going to play favorably for pitchers, which is why now you have this type of exposure that we're getting to this game. If this were in the Coliseum, this would be nowhere close to this. I mean, this game has a 9-run implied total. With Severino on the bump against the White Sox, this is probably 7.5 at the Coliseum. No joke. Probably around 7.5. So, yeah. I don't know. Ram, do I think the A's get steamed? They might. They might. That's the great thing about having this ownership that that updates throughout the day. They might. I mean, right now they're getting 6% ownership. I don't know how steamed any individual stack is going to get, honestly, Ram, now that I think about it. So I'd say it's probably unlikely. I mean, you have Toronto against Carrasco with a high total. You have Seattle against Quantrill. He just got shit on by Philly. Minnesota against Hendricks. You have so many of these teams with pretty exorbitant totals. You have a Coors game as well with Kyle Freeland on the bump. You have the Yankees with a 5+ total. I'm not sure that any team is going to get all that steam. And guys, follow along with the ownership updates, with the projections, with the Sims. Make it easy on yourself. I tell you all the time, if you just sign up with any of our sportsbook partners, with the link down there where you choose any of them, click claim offer and just make a minimum deposit. Email your welcome email and your first settled bet to support@stokastic.com. Just email those screenshots. You're getting a free month of Coors Sims anyway. $120 value. Even if you're in a non-legal betting state, you want pick'em sites where you have them in all of these states. If you sign up on whatever you want, there's no point of even paying for it. Get the tools, get the bonus bets, get everything. Get the match deposit bonuses. This is quite literally the easiest definition of free money. You would do this anywhere else in life. If you play DFS, even if you don't use tools right now, familiarize yourself with these tools by paying virtually nothing for them and being able to stretch it out across the season if you want, or multiple sports, So yeah, use that. Just use the link, sign up with our Sportsbook partners, click claim offer so we can track you and follow those 4 steps. You're in, man. You get all of these tools for free for essentially as long as you want. And that's why, looking at this, do we see it update throughout the day? Maybe. But I can tell you this, whereas yesterday we were getting a lot of spread out exposure to a lot of these games because on a 4-game slate, you're not going to see quite as many 5-man stacks. Check this out. The most we have of 3-man stacks is Minnesota and Cleveland. Cleveland could change given that weather at 5%. 4-man stacks, the most we have is 3% White Sox. But look how many of the 5-man stacks we're getting, right? This is where on a 12-game slate, you are going all in. Does that make sense? Right? Instead of trying to hit 8 or 4 or 5 random spots with like mini stacks or a ton of one-offs, you're going all in on a team going nuclear, right? That's what you're doing. A team popping off for 13 runs. Yeah. That's the purpose of this. That's why 5-man stacks on these bigger slates can be so effective. You got 24 teams on the field, on the schedule. You've got, what did I say, 10 or 11 teams with implied totals at 4.8 or higher. You've got pretty mild weather across the country. The 5-man stacks on a slate like this are going to look really good. And should point out that you're going to see a lot of 5-3s. So even with these 5-man stacks, whereas you're getting these 3-mans, they're typically going to be accompanied by the 5-man stacks. See this? 5-3, 5-3, 5-3, 5-3, 5-3, 5-3. That type of lineup building on these big slates puts you in position if your team goes off to really have an edge. Trying to piece together the 2-2-3 stacks or the 3-man stack with 5 one-offs or whatever it may be. It's so much tougher to do. Once in a while, you'll see that type of stuff win, but it's few and far between. It's really few and far between. Take a look at this before we get out of here. Appreciate all you guys watching, by the way, as always. And if you don't mind, hit that thumbs up before you go. If you forgot to do so, atone for your sins this fine morning. Goes a long way. We appreciate you for it. I appreciate you for it. All right, so let's look at the bat flip from Tuesday and go to lineup ROI. I'm just curious because I haven't pulled this up, but we knew it was a big slate. So the top lineup, what was this? Just a big Chicago stack? Yep. And what was the score of that game? I'm just saying this stuff because these 5-man stacks on these big slates are super viable. Super viable. Yeah, they had 11 runs. 11 runs against the Dodgers in that game. That's right. It was a crazy 11-10 game. And 1, 2, 3, what do you have? 5 from that game? So yeah, these type of lineup builds work, especially when you're talking about these huge slates. Matt Capazzo, yeah, anytime, man. Appreciate you guys coming to hang out. I love working through this stuff in the morning because what I'll do is I actually won't look at much on the slate. I want to break it down as we go. I want to run the sims, and without any kind of biases or preconceived notions going into a slate, we get to see exactly what we're looking at, right? We get to understand why we're getting this and kind of reverse engineer why we're getting what we are. And I think we do a decent enough job of doing that each day. So anyway, appreciate you guys. I got to run and hop on a call, but as always, we'll see you back here Monday. Have a great weekend. Come hang out NBA Live Before Lock tonight. You got MLB too, but NBA Live Before Lock, our friend Jorge, who took down 50K, he's going to be giving away 5 of these Stokastic MLB Sims Max memberships. What a guy. Just do this. Sign up with Jorge. You got a few hours to do it. Grab 2 weeks free of Portfolio EV, which is a huge win to begin with. If you're a previous user, get a free trial or get a free week anyway. Just use the weekly sub. Use the tools, win some money sports betting. Reach out to me if you have questions and use that to get entered. You have a really good chance of winning one right now. So I'm excited to do this. I'll be hanging out in there as well tonight. Aside from that, I'll see you guys back here on Monday for the strategy show to start a brand new week. Peace.